Hi, my name's Natalie, and today we're drawing exercises from Drawabox, specifically the 250 box challenge. So, this is basically me trying to persuade everyone to draw to attend the challenge as well, basically. So if you haven't, you should. I'm just kidding. You don't have to. You'll just never know how to draw a box in your entire life. Well, basically, uh, this is just a little example of me drawing, I think, 3 boxes in this video, and um, I just kind of explained some stuff or stuff that I've learned so far, like some tips, or most of these tips are tips that I found on Drawbox itself, so I'm gonna put a link in the description for that. I really think that if you're trying to learn perspective and it's not working, or if you want to learn perspective, just if you want to learn the fundamentals, you have to learn perspective and form and everything like that. So I think Drawbox is really a great resource for that, because it doesn't really only teach you the theory, but it puts it into practice. And it also doesn't only teach you perspective, but it teaches you things like patience and line weight and just how to control your hand, because that is very important, right? Like, if you want to make beautiful lines and if you want your lines to be straight and to go in the way you want them to go, you have to be able to control your hand. And these exercises really teach you that. So it teaches your hand to draw the way you want. So here is my sketchbook that I dedicated. I dedicated for 250 box challenge. I have already, I think, like 236 something boxes done. This isn't the entire sketchbook. I have one sketchbook that got filled with Drawbox exercises already, so this is the second sketchbook, starting with the box number, I think, 180 or something. So as you can see, I managed to fit like 4 to 5 boxes on each page. I found 6 to be too much, because then I had to make the boxes really small, and the lines for checking the convergences just kind of crossed each other, and it was a mess. So I had to I had to stick to really like a fewer boxes on a page. As you can see, my biggest struggle is always the planes in the back. I mess them up like almost always, because I have to think of three lines at once. But I think I'm getting better at it. It just takes, patience and practice and time. Sometimes I shoot even the converging lines in the front. Sometimes I shoot them in the wrong direction as well. But I found the planes in the back to be my weakest point, so I'm focusing on that mainly. Yeah, and here are the boxes that we've been finishing today. So as you can see, I have already done 4 boxes on this page, but I'm gonna draw a 5th one because there's a space at the top for one more. And I noticed that I haven't finished this box down there, so I'm just gonna crosshatch the front plane. And as you can notice, I'm not using a ruler. I'm doing everything freehand. That will improve my ghosting and everything if, if I do everything freehand. It just helps you improve faster. So I'm here doing the 5th box, and as I can see, I decided to make it below the eye level so that I am looking at its top plane. Notice how I'm taking time with each line. That is the ghosting method that Drawabox talks about. It helps just make sure that the line goes where I want the line to go, and that it's straight, and that it works out the way I want it to work out. Here I'm deciding sort of where the vanishing point will be, and that determines where the other lines in the box will go. So it's really important to, stick to it once you make that decision, because there's nothing really you can do after you put the second line down. Once you put the second line down, you just have already determined where the vanishing point is, so you have to stick to it. You cannot just change it in the process, because the vanishing point is already existing. You cannot just decide that you're gonna put the vanishing point somewhere else. That will just make it will not look like a box. It will look like some weird set of lines that were supposed to be a box. Also, another tip is to really think through how your box will look like in advance, because if you don't really know what you want the box to look like and just jump in and you start putting lines down, it really makes it harder, because then you're kind of confused with where you're supposed to go with your lines. If you just think approximately, it's like you don't have to think very specific angles or anything, just approximately. You're gonna see its top plane, bottom plane. Is it gonna be tilted like that or like this? How rapid the convergence is gonna be? How big the box is gonna be? If you just think approximately how the box is gonna look like, if you imagine it in your head at least, it's gonna help, because you're gonna come in with a plan and you're just gonna jump in and make a bunch of stupid mistakes just because you haven't planned anything. So yeah, that is an advice I give to anyone who might not know this, is to plan your boxes in advance if you can, because it helps a ton. Well, see, I can already see I made a mistake right there. Well, yeah, that's another tip I can give you, is not to be afraid to make mistakes, because you are going to make a lot of mistakes, especially with exercises like this. They are meant for you to make mistakes. If you practice and if you really take the advice that other people give you and you take it seriously, you do everything that you can, you will improve, and you will progressively make less and less mistakes, or you will just be making mistakes that are more subtle, that are not so obvious to the naked eye. You see, I'm checking the vanishing point where it's probably gonna be, so that I can determine where the line is gonna go. Yeah, another tip is that kind of ties to the tip with think through how your box is gonna look like in advance. It is to try thinking about all the lines in the box or just like the whole box constantly when you're drawing. Because a mistake that happens to me often is that I kind of find the perfect direction of one line and I put it down and then I realize that the rest of the lines don't align with it at all. So you have to think through the entire box whenever you put down a line, because just because that one line goes into the vanishing point and it's correct doesn't mean that the other lines will be correct. It happens to me especially in the back because I already have all the planes and the lines in the front managed, but in the back suddenly you have to manage 3 lines at once, like just 3 planes at once, and you cannot mess up, and it's really hard. That's why you have to think through, you have to think about all of it at once. You cannot just think of it as one line just going somewhere, you know. You have to really think of it as a box, as a whole. I was really determined to not make mistakes with this box anymore. So to make sure I got everything correct, I put down not really just a few dots to kind of decide where all of the 3 lines are gonna meet. You can do that. It's still better than just kind of guess really randomly where it's gonna go and just makes mistakes for just like that. It's still better to put a few dots on the page because it really helps you visualize it better, because you now know the specific spot where the lines meet. Whereas if you don't really put down the dots, you just kind of keep floating around the page, and you kind of forget it in like a second where it was supposed to go, and you usually will probably put it down at the wrong spot anyways. So like using the dots is really good. Now I'm drawing in a thicker line weight to kind of empathize the form. It is for the box to really pop out of the page, so it kind of unifies all the lines in it and really makes it look like a box. You can also think of a light source and kind of make some lines away from the light source a little thicker. So now we're going to crosshatch. I was kind of hesitant which plane is the front plane, or which should I crosshatch, because if you look at it, both of the planes are front planes. And I was kind of I started getting confused about it. I was like, did I really understand the part with cross hatching? So I checked it online. Somebody has already asked that question, and if you have two front planes like here, both of them are front planes. Therefore, it doesn't really matter if you crosshatch one or the other. Both variations are correct. So I went for the first one. You could go for the second one as well, because both of them are front planes. It wouldn't be a mistake to crosshatch the first one or second one. Both of them are correct. So we're drawing two more boxes now. Again, I'm thinking about where my eye level is, or more, not really eye level, but thinking if I'm looking at its top plane, bottom plane. Right now I'm looking at its top plane, therefore it's probably below my eye level, of course. Of course, it could be tilted. If you tilt it, it will be like a different perspective. If you tilt the page, then it would be 3-point. So, I mean, that's also kind of fascinating. If you rotate the page, the boxes will appear different. If you understand what I mean, the eye level will appear different. So yeah, I'm just ghosting my lines. This one took me forever to decide. Yay, we put the line down. Now the line weight to unify the box and just make it pop on the page to kind of really make it look like a box, not just a set of random lines. And now we are cross-hatching. Again, both of the planes are front planes. So it really is up to you which one you want to cross-hatch. I was kind of confused with which one should I cross-hatch, but I checked it on the internet and both of them would be fine, so it's really up to you. It's not a mistake to cross-hatch the other if you'd like to. And then we're doing our second box, applying everything that we've been applying so far. Just doing the same stuff. Thinking about the convergences. Thinking about my initial Y from the start, making sure the angles are correct, and everything like that. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna check the convergences. Now, the reason why we're doing this is to practice accuracy, or we're not practicing accuracy now, we're just checking if we've been accurate with our boxes, because that is important. If you're drawing a scene in perspective and the lines don't go in the right direction into the vanishing points, it will look off. Of course, depending on how much off you are, that also depends if you can spot it with the naked eye. If the line goes off just a little bit, it's pretty much unnoticeable. But if it just goes completely in a different direction, then it's like it hits you right in the eye that something's not right with this box. So that is why we check our convergences, is to make sure we really made all the lines go into the vanishing point that they were supposed to go. Always make sure that when you're checking your convergences is that the lines are going away from you. Because the vanishing points are going away from us. Like, it's always going away from us. Like the vanishing point cannot be behind us or on us or anything like that. Even if your lines, the lines that you put down the box, even if the lines are converging towards you, then it's a mistake. And do not extend your lines in that direction. That just means you made them incorrectly. Always extend the lines away from you. That is how you really check how well you or how badly you've done the box. I see a mistake I do quite often is that one pair of lines going into the one vanishing point are sort of kind of having their own vanishing point compared to some other pair of lines that should go into the same vanishing point, and they have their own vanishing point. Well, I think the boxes aren't that bad, but of course they could be better. They could always be better. Also, I'm using a pen of a different color for this. But I mean, you don't have to, but it's kind of, it's good to use a different color so that you can see very clearly which lines are extended, and it just kind of doesn't look so messy. So, in conclusion, the general advice are, well, start with your initial Ys, especially if you're starting out, start with your initial Ys, and do not make the three lines more than 90 degrees away from each other. Then also be aware if you're looking up or down at the box to adjust the eye level or to like really understand what you're doing. Do not just construct a box thinking about it as a bunch of lines matching a bunch of angles. That is really a bad way to think about it, because maybe you are going to be able to construct a good box, but what's the point if you don't really understand it? You really have to know why you're doing what you're doing. um yeah, also do not try not to probably think of 1 point and 2 point and 3 point perspective as just 1 point and 2 point and 3 point perspective. Really understand the reasoning behind it, whether you're looking at a front face of a box or any object, or at its corner, or if you're looking up at it or down at it and everything like that. Do not just think of it as there's like three vanishing points and I don't know why it is, but that's 3 point perspective. Do not think of it that way, because it's just gonna confuse you, and it doesn't really teach you anything you can apply. If you're gonna be trying to make extreme angles, just like rapid convergences, remember remember that you need to keep in mind why that stuff happens. Do not just like, if you want to make a small box, the rapid convergence, it's like it's not really gonna happen unless you have some kind of different lens. Usually these kind of convergences happen with large objects like skyscrapers or stuff like that. So keep that in mind. While checking your convergences, do not extend in the wrong direction. I don't know if I've said that earlier. I might have not, so I'm saying it now. If you're checking your convergences, make sure you're always extending away from you. Because even if the lines are pointing or just converging to you, that doesn't mean you should extend to you. That just means you made a mistake and now you've noticed it, and hopefully you will not ever do it again. And another thing is it takes time. It takes time and it takes patience. And especially perspective, or basically any fundamental in general, it really takes time to truly understand it. Like one video or 1 week of practice, one exercise, or even 100 exercises aren't really gonna make you understand it if you're not patient, if you're rushing through it, if you're not thinking through it, if you just want to understand or know how to do perspective in 1 week. I'm not trying to underestimate you, but that's probably not gonna happen, especially if you've never ever came into like terms with perspective ever before. It's kind of impossible. I mean, I'm not saying you can't do that, but most of us probably can't. So it's gonna take some time. So do not punish yourself for not learning the whole perspective and all the techniques in 1 day, because that's how somebody should do it. No, it's gonna take time. Well, anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you've been drawing with me. If you haven't, then it doesn't really matter. You're still interested in perspective, right? Another tip, or another, that's not even a tip, that's just like a note. So take your notes. Another note is perspective isn't as scary as people make it look. It really is not. So I hope you've enjoyed me babbling about boxes and angles and all the fun stuff that you definitely want to draw in your free time, isn't it right? So that will be everything today, and see ya. Yeah, I also forgot to mention, do not do the 250 box challenge unless you've already been through lesson 1, because then you're just going to be left confused, and it's pretty much, I'm not saying useless, but just do the first lesson first. That's why it's called the first lesson. And before that, do lesson 0. There's no more lessons before that. Don't worry. Just 2. Just 2.